The Brave Maker Show is hosted by Tony Gattazone and Christina Jackson. Thanks for tuning in. It's showtime.
Hey, yo. Thanks for tuning in. It is showtime. My name is Tony Gattazone. My pronouns are he, him, his. I'm a Caucasian man, and I'm chilling in Redwood City, California, in my studio wearing a green shirt. We always do these inclusive descriptions so we can be welcoming to all our viewers and listeners. I'm wearing orange glasses today, and in the studio, I've got a black background that says Brave Maker. And I'm an actor, I'm a screenwriter, and a director. You can find me on the socials at Tony Gattazone across all of them, and my website is tonygap.com. And I'm always joined every week for great, productive, and brave conversation with my friend, co-creator, and the producer of Go Veronica Go, my next feature film, Veronica, aka Christina Ray Jackson.
That's right.
Welcome,
Thank
Christina.
you, Tony. Absolutely. Good to be back. Hey, I'm Christina Jackson coming to you from the beautiful Sun City, Lincoln, California. I am in a stunning lazy boy chair covered in a beautiful faux peacock. I'm rocking some wild kind of dirty blonde, black curly hair and pink lipstick and the Green Lantern cosplay shirt today with the gold chain. And I'm an African-American woman and my pronouns are he, she, they. And Tony, this is great. It never gets old. Producer of Tony's upcoming feature film. I love it.
It is something. We are going hard, y'all. I was listening to a podcast today that just like we do, encouraging us to declare what you're going after. Everybody's got their thing. We call it braving your way. So we'll start the top of the show here with, what did you do this week, Christina, to brave your way toward your creative goal?
I did something so exciting and so awesome, and I'm getting ready to apply those skills for our production Go Veronica Go. I learned how to use Canva to create stunning interactive presentations. You know, you and I said Canva was one of our brave fave for the holidays, like something to give a creative. And I had only used it to make a couple of flyers, nothing major. I really dug in to create a presentation for Urban World Film Festival, which Tony is well aware of, and you might want to, share why. And so it took me 9 hours. I did it with my co-creator, Tisha T. Payton, who is also Gina in Go Veronica Go. And we banged it out, and it was like a crash course. And so I'm now using those skills to work on our new pitch deck, and I'm very excited to share that towards the end of the week. So that's how I braved my way. I just dove into Canva, learned how to use it, and yeah, I'm excited. What about you, Tony? How'd you brave your way this week?
So I'm really getting intentional about raising funds for Go Veronica Go. We had a line producer budget the film at $300,000, which is a very micro budget indie feature film. So $300,000, and I have been really intentionally going after people that I know have contributed, donated, supported our films in the past, and asking them if they want to come on as an executive producer. We just need 6 people. That's it. 6 people to give $50K. That's it. Right. And all 6 of those people would be an executive producer, and everything is tax deductible. And Brave Maker can also accept a stock transfer too. So we're making this film. I'm just being intentional with asking people, emailing people. And then I'm also being strategic about how I categorize and follow up. So sometimes we can get kind of loosey-goosey about things. We just throw things out. We send an email, we text, we forget. But if you don't follow up, if you don't keep asking, if you don't communicate,
That's
you
right.
will miss opportunities. So that's what I'm doing, and the next step is talking to you about getting a weekly schedule Zoom 30 minutes where our team can talk every week for 30 minutes, just make sure we're on the same page, reporting on what we're doing, setting goals, that kind of stuff. So I'm excited to kind of move, as we say goodbye to summer, move into this next season, the fall, and really ramping up for Go Veronica Go. That's it.
Super exciting.
That's how I'm braving my way.
Yeah, that's it.
So we'll keep going.
Awesome. One step at a time.
That's right. Today we are talking with a San Franciscan, a Bay Area. Well, actually, I'll find out. I don't know if he's actually a San Franciscan. I know he does a lot of work in San Francisco. He is a film writer, and also I'm going to dive into this because film writer is sort of a new way that I've understood this job. I also know people identify as film critics. So we'll talk about what MARCO CERRITOS does. Welcome to the show, MARCO.
Hey guys,
Welcome,
thanks for having
MARCO.
me. Oh,
absolutely.
Great. Thanks for having me both, guys.
Heck yeah. So MARCO, you are a member of the San Francisco Bay Area Film Critics Circle. So we're going to dive into that. Before we do, you can go ahead and introduce yourself with a physical description for all of our viewers and listeners. And then Christina will take it off and start off.
Sounds great. Well, for everyone at home watching this, my name is MARCO CERRITOS. My pronouns are he, him, his. I am a Latin male with short black hair and brown eyes. And I'm wearing a black t-shirt.
Fantastic.
Short and sweet. So yes, MARCO.
So
I love comics.
Yeah.
We love that. We love that here. It's good little nuggets. That's perfect for our quotes. So we're here in Sun City. I'm rocking the Green Lantern today. We love comics and we love storytelling. We love to hear your origin story. Where were you born and raised? And how has your journey uniquely prepared you for the work you're doing today?
Oh, wow. First off, thanks for having me, but I'm absolutely not used to being on this side of the microphone. So it's, you'll definitely have to excuse a lot of the ums and ahs and the uhs. But
it's all good. Casual, man. Good.
Born and raised in the Bay Area. I've pretty much been in the Bay Area for most of my life outside of just traveling for work and pleasure. But yeah, Bay Area guy. Tony was saying before he's not sure if I'm a San Franciscan. I'm not, but I might as well be because I travel there all the time for work.
Mm-hmm. So MARCO, I've met you many times around the Bay Area, whether it's at CineQuest or Mill Valley. I think maybe Sundance. We crossed paths at some point. I'm
most
sure.
likely at some kind of Sundance event. Yeah,
but it feels like in the past, post. Well, we're still on COVID, but the coming out into the world. We saw you at the Brave Maker Film Fest. You're now working with News Up Now.
Yep.
You write reviews. You've got a website, the Movie Lens. We'll post that in the chat too. Yeah. But just kind of tell us, what is it that you do? And I honestly, when Amy, who's our producer, and Carrie, our social media manager, they were doing the promotion. It said film writer. I was like, film writer? Oh, I have never really heard that as the job title before. So talk to me. Is that a new way to identify? Is film critic or something, or is it no more film critic? Talk to us about that.
I'm cool with either one, but I know film writer has become a bit more prevalent in terms of describing what a film critic does over the last couple of years. So I think both titles basically describe the exact same thing. I started out a while ago where the term film critic was just the way to go. Now some people, prefer being called film writers. Like I said, I'm okay with either one. To me, they pretty much describe the same thing, which is you are essentially writing about film. In my case, you're essentially traveling to festivals, talking to people about film, doing celebrity profiles, and obviously film reviews.
And what about the work drew you? Like, what do you like about it? Why is this your job? How is it a job for you? I think a lot of people would love to know.
Yeah, well, you see, the thing is, a lot of people have said this to me over the years, and then at first I didn't fully buy it until it actually just became undeniable, which is that I'm doing something that's considered work, but to me is, I consider it pleasure. I just think it's fun. I don't see it as work because I love movies. I've always loved movies. And I got into writing about movies just, completely accidentally. I guess when I was getting started, I always loved film, but I didn't know what to do with it. I didn't know, do I want to be a writer? Do I want to be an actor? And then I tried acting. I quickly realized I can't act. So I said, well, let's try something else. And after a couple of bumps in the road, I just tried writing. I figured I loved it. I had a good knack for it, and I wanted to keep doing it. And it just snowballed from there. What started out as a couple of film reviews here and there snowballed into being invited to interview celebrities. And that was cool, but it's like, okay, I'm not doing this just, for the freebies or for, the cool access. I actually genuinely love movies. So, what else can we do with this? And, like Tony said, I've been to film festivals. I met Tony at film festivals, and it's just that 1, 2, 3 of like liking something, wanting to keep doing it, and figuring out how to keep doing it.
Well, thank you so much for getting back in front of the camera for us today.
All right.
And I'm curious, are you a first generation, not necessarily filmmaker, but in the film industry?
Yes. Yeah, definitely. No connections here. It's
Exciting.
only, yeah.
It's all Marco. That's great.
Yeah.
So you were talking about, this kind of resonated with me when you talked about you love something, you start doing something, you start getting invitations to do that thing, you're loving it, you didn't say this, but basically we all know what it feels like to love something so much that we would do it for free.
Yeah.
But now talk about how, because we're all trying to figure out, many of us are trying to figure out how we monetize the passions that we love. How do we make a living doing what we love? How did that go for you? What was some of the process? What are some of the ways? There's no one way to break in, but what was it for you? And what would you say to other people who maybe perk up when they hear, oh, they could get paid to write about movies? How cool.
Yeah. I mean, the landscape has changed so much since I started doing this that it just, for me, it really just came down to being, lucky and just right place, right time, because I started doing this in my teens. That's how I just fell into it. I loved movies. And like I said earlier, I realized I wanted to do something with it. And when I figured out what that was, then yeah, it's fun if you're doing it for free and you're just having fun with it. But eventually, if you want to make a career out of it, if you actually want to take it to that next step, you're absolutely right. You have to find a way to monetize. And for me, I think the luck came into play because, I guess through age and circumstance, because when I started doing it, there just wasn't as much competition as there is now. There just wasn't. There were some sites that were doing it online. Back then, online writers were just absolutely shunned. It's like TV, radio, were first and foremost in terms of access. Now that's obviously changed because there's so many outlets, there's so many online outlets. TV and radio is still important to PR firms, but online gets a lot of access too. And when I started doing it through just any way I could. I started doing it through newspapers, through radio, some online stuff, and that snowballed too, where the small online opportunities over time turned into bigger and more prevalent online opportunities. So monetizing it back then, I just, it's so different. The thing I usually tell people now when they ask, hey, how can we get started? Obviously, online is the easiest way to do it because everyone's got a phone, everyone's got a camera in their pocket, a computer in their pocket. So there truly is no excuse if you're genuinely interested in it. But the thing I always start out when people ask this is, you don't have to tell me this. You just be honest with yourself. Do you genuinely want to do this because you love film, because you love, the art of criticism or the art of movies, or do you just want the free access? Do you want to cozy up to celebrities and go to film festivals and go to parties? And I mean, I'm not going to lie, like that stuff's cool and all, but there's obviously way more to it. And if you're in it for those reasons, what I consider the wrong reasons, then you're going to burn out fast. People will see right through that. and the access will dry up quickly. Whereas if you genuinely want to do it, stick with it. There will be a lot of dry spells, but eventually luck and perseverance usually help out. So I guess this is a very long-winded way of saying that if you genuinely want it, prove it, do it, but do it for the right reasons. Otherwise, people will see through it and shut you down. Sorry for that long answer, guys.
Oh, no need to apologize. We love those answers. Those were good.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Hey, like
good.
I said, I'm not used to being, the one who's asked the question. So I'm like, all right, this is cool. Let's go with it.
So if you're just tuning in, we are talking to Marco Cerritos of the Movie Lens. This is episode 158 of the Brave Maker live show and podcast. You can go read all of his reviews and interviews, some really cool people, celebrities. But what I hear you saying is prove it, prove yourself. Don't just be in it for the love and the swag, or for the love of the schmoozing and getting to rub elbows. Do it for the love of the work. It's really fantastic.
I would love to know, what is your approach when you see a film? How do you sit down and approach writing that review? What is it that is your primary focus to convey to your reader?
My review style is more conversational. So for me, when I'm watching something, I'm watching movies all the time, whether it's for work or just for fun. If I like to see as much as I can. So even if it's, the big studio blockbusters or, the film you've never heard of from, whether it's a streaming service or just a random DVD, I see that as part of the job. Even if I'm not reviewing something and seeing it for fun, it's educating myself, right? So it's just like taking extra information in, which, like I'm watching some random movie today. The info that I get from that may not come into play until 6 months from now in a different review. But, the other way to look at it is like the films you're watching today, that filmmaker may not be someone to look out for today, but, 5-10 years from now, you're like, hey, wait a second. I saw that dude's first film at a different film festival, or, that happens a lot, especially at film festivals and just film gatherings where a lot of people are there for the Q&A with, big shot celebrity, and no one's paying attention to the producer at the side. And that producer, listen, I've had this happen so many times where that random person that no one's talking to, today, even years from now, 2 years from now, 3 years from now, is like the next Jason Blum or the next person that's like, oh man, I should have talked to that person. Not for, not to be superficial about it, but listen, if you love movies, strike up a conversation with someone. And in my experience, those people are usually the passionate ones too. Those are the ones that will actually give you real cool information and just a great conversation overall. Because, the big celebrities, I always think the bigger the celebrity, the quicker the anecdote. Like they might take a picture and they'll be like, hey, good to meet you, shake your hand. And that's cool. That's fun. But if you're talking, to a producer or an actor that, is just there for love of the game, it's like, hey, you're actually forming a real connection with someone through work, through the love of movies.
You are so
Marco, you mentioned a little bit about
Oh, go ahead.
I'm sorry, go ahead. Yeah.
Oh, you mentioned a little bit about educating yourself. How have you invested in yourself, educated yourself over the years to really elevate your work and stay competitive?
As silly as it sounds, just watching movies. I mean, TV too, but I'm more of a film writer. Yeah, so just watching as much as I can. It's just like any profession, right? Like if you're going out, if you want to be a doctor or a lawyer, you just want to dig in and take in as much as you can to learn about what you're writing about or what you're doing. Because the other thing, and this goes back to what we were saying before about, being just in it for the right reasons, is not just PR companies, but your readers, the people who read your work and see your work, they will know if you're full of it or not. They can tell in the work, hey, this guy knows his stuff, or this guy is a bad writer, or this guy just has no clue what he's talking about when it comes to movies. So I think I've gotten lucky doing something that I genuinely love. A lot of people that I know personally, and they're, I mean this with all due respect, some people just punch a clock and that's cool. You got to make a living. But in this case, to be able to do something that I genuinely enjoy doing, I want to keep doing, is a true blessing for me, at least. I see it that way. We were talking earlier also about just getting started and stuff. I think one of the main things, if people are curious about how to take that step and actually show it, prove it. For me, when I was getting started, I tried to watch as much as I could. I mean, I watch as much as I can now, but back then, yes, because I was getting access not just to like the big premieres of Hollywood movies, but I was being invited to smaller independent stuff. And these were the days when a lot of there weren't that many critics in the Bay Area, so the screenings rooms were small, the crowds, the critic groups were smaller, and you can always tell because you see a lot of heads show up to the big blockbusters, but those same heads disappear when they're screening, a French art film, when they're screening a documentary. And I would go to those films. I would go to the documentaries and the press screenings of, art films and things that wouldn't normally get that much attention, not because I felt I had to, but because I genuinely wanted to. And in those days, it was a 50-50 split where I would see some heads look at me, and think like, hey man, Transformers is playing that way. What are you doing in this movie? And, some critics would be, I'd get the approving nod and be like, all right, this kid at the time, this kid is here, for the same, French art film that we're here for. Okay. He actually cares. That's cool. But again, I wasn't doing it to prove anything to anyone. I was just doing it because I genuinely wanted to be there. I wanted to see those films and educate myself. And I continue to do that now. The landscape has changed in that aspect because back then I was probably one of a handful of young writers who would do that, who would go to a lot of films, write about them, and genuinely want to explore and learn more about movies. But now, because of the internet, there's just so many more outlets and so many more young writers that are doing that. And I think that's great.
Marco, you talked about going to these interviews or going to these kind of maybe smaller movies and giving platforms or helping them have voice to what they're about. And then you see, okay, 5-10 years from now, I think that is something really, for anybody. So a lot of our audience are actors or filmmakers. And we talked about this a couple weeks ago with Sassy Moen about this idea. She's a filmmaker of how to hack birth control. And we talked about this idea of kind of lateral networking, right? Sometimes we think we need to get the person who's way up the ladder. Even last night at CineQuest, Mark and I were both at CineQuest, and I was like inches away from Jim Gaffigan, who was the star of the opening night film, and had so many people clamoring around him. But afterwards, I found myself meeting his producer, who nobody knew, right? He wasn't really, getting to talk with him. And then we exchanged cards, and we've been texting today. Just thinking about that in regards to this industry, how often, like you pointed out, people neglect or forget the periphery, the people who are working hard and in the indie space. Those are the ones who have the time and space, who people aren't lining up to talk to. But someday, with all that hard work, they will. And I think even as I look at your website and see all of your reviews and the people that you've talked to, it's really cool because you are literally cataloging all of these films and filmmakers, and you will be able to someday respond or reply back to, oh, look at this, from 5 years ago when they were just a short filmmaker, or when they had their first feature at Sundance and now they're on their 10th. That's a really cool way to look at it. And again, is such a reminder to the marathon of the entertainment industry and how much perseverance is needed. So I really love that. Again, if you're wanting to connect with Marco, go to themovielens.com to see these reviews. My next question for you is, and I love your point of view. I love the casual nature of what you're bringing in conversation. How do you handle knowing, like, let's say the film Ratatouille is a great example of dealing with the critic, and then I love at the very end that kind of antagonist becomes the partner and the connect, and how that ended. It was really beautiful. But how do you handle sort of that idea that you bring, some critical words and evaluation to people's performances and to people's art? What's the thought behind that? And have you ever addressed or had someone that you had to kind of in person or otherwise share those thoughts that were difficult?
Wow. Well, let's see. How do I answer this? Because there are certain things I can't talk about when it comes to that, but I can talk about it in a different way. The short answer is yes, it's tricky.
Yeah.
For the first part, when I see critics depicted in film, like whether it's Ratatouille or M. Night Shyamalan does it in Lady in the Water, where the critic is literally an asshole. The critic is literally pivoted as one of the villains of the piece. I try it. Well, no, I don't try. I do not take that stuff personally. I just don't. I know some writers do. Especially if those depictions are targeted directly at them. There have been some cases of that in the past where someone's taken a hatchet to a writer because they wrote a negative review of their film 10 years ago or whatever. But yeah, I think for me, I don't take it personally when critics are depicted that way in movies or TV. I mean, the same goes for a positive depiction. That's cool too. But I'm watching, a film. I'm watching, a piece of art. So it's just, you're trying to be as open-minded as possible. As far as meeting people in person, that's a little tricky because, I've been doing this long enough to know that, it's that line in what is it, Almost Famous, where it's like, they're not your friends, they're essentially there to promote a product. And, as silly as that may sound, that's actually true. I've been doing, celebrity profiles and interviews for, decades. And at this point, I know that most people are there, with good intentions. They're not there to be mean or just mean spirited, but they're there, they want to promote their movie. They want to have a good time. But the question I sometimes get is like, who's been mean to you? Like, who's an asshole when you do these interviews? And it's like, there've been a few cases of that, sure. But, at the same time, even if someone's having a bad day, even if someone doesn't want to be there when you're doing an interview, they put on a good game face, because especially now in 2022, when, like I said, everyone's got a phone, everyone's got access to post, whatever they want. They want to be on their best behavior. So they want to be nice. They want to be cool. They want to shake your hand and say like, hey, good to meet you. Let's talk about my movie. And I get it. I'm not antagonistic when it comes to that stuff. I'm never looking for dirt. I'm not in that space. And that's one of the cool things about the Movie Lens is that, I've been writing for so long, but the Movie Lens is fairly new. I wanted to put something together that had my writing, but also that, I had, control over something that it's just, like I said, it's not mean spirited. I'm not looking to, to TMZ anyone or do anything of that sort. I love movies. I want to write about movies, and Real Talk is also part of that. I'm not used to doing on-camera interviews and on-camera reviews, but my co-host and I have been doing it for the last couple of months, and it's been great. Splitting my time between the Movie Lens and Real Talk has just taught me a lot in terms of how film criticism is evolving, post lockdown. I don't even say post COVID, because, we're still here, but post lockdown. Yeah.
Your companion or colleague, Randy Myers, I think he's the president of the San Francisco Film.
He was, not currently. Our current president is Pam Grady, and they're both great people.
Randy gave Last Chance Charlene a very delightful little review, and that was really kind of my first foray into this whole world. And we've gotten a few nice, kind reviews, but I have not experienced where I've ever walked away feeling, disheartened, thankfully. But there is a whole conversation on the other side where people say, if you take the good, you take the bad, you got to be careful with that. And there are some artists who they don't want to read any reviews, the positive or the negative. And I don't know how you do that, but I think at some place, you're seeing a lot of things happening online that many are saying, okay, I have to guard my mental health.
Right.
All of the fronts. You could get a big head with all the love and attention, and all of a sudden you get one little thing and it could knock you out, from emotional stability. So it's a really interesting, wild time. The one thing I'll just say is that I appreciate what it sounds like is, you're just a human being with a perspective and an opinion, and we all have that, right? We all have a subjective viewpoint of the world. We're all drawn to things that others are not, and that's okay. And so, putting it out in the world and making a living off it, like, so cool. I think it's really great. Your website, by the way, is super great.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Check it out. Super clean, super creative looking, and you've met a lot of people in the world and in the entertainment industry. Very, 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 very cool.
And, it's still fairly new. Like, I'm still doing some, because I've been writing for so long that, like I said, I just wanted to start something fresh and keep that going. I still freelance and do other jobs on the side, whether it's criticism or just, interviews. But because the movie lens is so new, like, obviously, yes, I would love for people to go there and check it out, drop us a comment. But also, if you want to check out some of my older stuff, like, just Google my name. So much will pop up from previous sites, just previous outlets in general, reviews stemming back years that, I'm just really proud of those as well.
Marco, your website is so fresh and it is so fun and engaging. You've been doing this a long time. You've met a ton of filmmakers. As a filmmaker, what is your advice for interacting with a film writer to be the most beneficial for, sharing a film, spreading the word about a film?
With that, I mean, it's just luck and perseverance. It really is with putting that together, and it really comes down to having no excuse, especially in 2022. Because I know I keep going back to this, but it's 1,000% true. Like, everyone's got a phone, everyone's got a camera. You can shoot something. It will most likely look good because of the way, the advancement of technology. Like, you can't have an excuse. It's like, yeah, I have a phone, but it's going to look like crap because of this, because of that. And even if you do, like, even if you're not fortunate enough to have a top of the line thing, you don't have to, number one. But number two, if you don't, and, the camera doesn't look great, you know what? Screw it. Do it anyway. Doing something is better than doing nothing at all. I know it sounds silly and cheesy, but again, it's 1,000% true.
Yeah.
With my career path, it's the same thing. There have been so many times when I could have just thrown in the towel and said, like, this isn't working out the way I wanted it to. I'm not getting this or that. And maybe it was, the fact that I loved movies and I obviously love them now, that kept me going. But I'm glad that I'm still here. I'm glad I, persevered, kept going, and I'm still going because, post lockdown, things have absolutely changed. We're slowly getting back into things in terms of like press screenings and festivals and just access. But we're not at 100% yet the way we were, pre 2020. So just navigating that has been interesting too.
Yeah, when you're talking about that do it mentality, Christina and I were sharing a little bit just about the you have to, in this place as artists, and we're speaking in our level as indie artists, you have to be willing to be your own publicist, to be your own marketing communications director. I felt a little silly last night, but at the red carpet for CineQuest, I was the only guy who brought a movie poster.
Yeah.
That don't feel silly. I saw it.
Yeah, that's what I said. That's great.
Yeah, it was great. And the reveal of turning that around and showing "Go Veronica, Go," I fucking laughed my ass off in the best way possible, because it's like, oh, look at that. Look at what he did. All right. Okay. I like that.
Right on.
Yes, you were the only one, but look at it as a positive. Like, yes, you were the only one who thought ahead and wanted to promote himself and their work. That's awesome. That's what the red carpet is for.
Yeah.
So I think that's pretty cool. I hadn't gotten that close of a look at the poster until I did last night. And I didn't notice you were rocking your own little blue steel in the poster. You got your own blue steel.
Yeah, you like that? That? Well, speaking of that, Last Chance Charlene is playing at the CineQuest Film Festival California Theater on Sunday, August 21st. Come see it. Marco and Gladson of News Up Now were there last night. And I think you have some real talk conversations coming out on Friday, I believe. Is that at your website, newsupnow.com?
Yeah. .org. Newsupnow.org. Yeah. So we recorded a conversation. There was a big Jim Gaffigan event last night. And once the movie started, we just, we recorded our latest episode that's going to go up tomorrow, Thursday. We just recorded that on the red carpet.
That's so cool. Yeah, that was a
Yeah.
great movie. Did you
Yeah.
get a chance? Did you get a chance to watch it too? By the
I
way,
did. I didn't see it last night because I had seen it at South by earlier in the
Okay.
year.
Oh,
So
Yeah.
yeah, I had seen it. That's why, if I hadn't seen it, then I would have felt bad recording an episode. It's like, why don't we record this after the movie gets out? Then we'll do it. But yeah, no, I had seen it, and I understand what you were talking about earlier with Jim, because there is definitely a huddle of people wanting to get a picture, and just and that's kind of sad too, where people, and I see this a lot at film festivals where they just want a picture and just leave. They don't,
That's right. It's
they,
not
they,
even like,
it's
it's like bye, and then you're done, and okay, you're just kind of a piece of meat. You're
basically,
you're a selfie.
yeah.
You're a selfie station.
Well, I mean, if we're name dropping, I'll mention this because I definitely say this a lot when I talk to people about fame and just celebrity in general. Where I was interviewing John Cusack years ago, and I think it's at Cinequest. It was at Sundance, and we were on the subject of celebrity, and he said, celebrity is like a 24-hour petting zoo. And it absolutely is. Everybody, you just the more famous you are, the less anonymous you are. So, John Cusack or Brad Pitt, they can't just go into Starbucks and order something, like maybe with a disguise, but someone spots Brad Pitt at Starbucks, 1,000 phones go up and everyone's posting the same picture.
That's right.
But if it's Brad Pitt's assistant or, someone, one of his producers or assistants at Plan B, then all right, no one's going to care. But you strike up a conversation with someone at Plan B, it could lead to something, or it could just be a great conversation between two people who love movies.
Good inspiration from Marco Cerritos, everybody.
Yeah.
Go follow, go check out themovielens.com as well as newsupnow.org. Before we go into our Brave faves, we've been starting as of last week, episode 157 with Priscilla Lamb. We talked about a question. We're curious. Where have you felt as if you have failed in such a way that it has helped you move forward?
That it has or has not?
That it has.
It has.
A failure that helped you move forward in a positive way.
Oh, geez. How much time do we have? Because that's a lot.
Take your time.
Yeah, I can think of oh man, let's think of a recent one just because. Are we going around the room on this, or is this just mine? Because I was going to say, come back to me last when I think of something.
We can definitely share ours. We definitely have some
failing forward. Yeah, right. Every day.
That. All right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I'll just share my quick round robin one is about we have summer interns this summer. And now we're about to go into some new year, fall and spring interns. And based on our summer experience this summer, I was realizing just kind of simple things that I failed to do with some of our interns. Like, when you give people the keys literally to your space, just communicating, what key opens what door, and knowing like at the end of the summer, one of our interns, was realizing, oh my gosh, I have a key to this space and that space. I'm like, oh yeah, I should have toured you around so you knew our whole thing. And then also, like when you give somebody responsibility, sometimes I'm just like, okay, here it is. I verbalize it, but I have to get really good. This is a theme. Last week I shared this too about contracts and things with filmmakers. But the paperwork, the sign on the dotted line, when you give somebody responsibility, sometimes it makes it way more official to have like a signature on something that even says, if you lose this key, you got to pay $50. So I'm getting better at like those processes, organizational processes is what I'm learning I need to get better at. So as you fail, you go, okay, next time it's going to be better. That's one simple thing.
That. I'm going to second that. Organizational processes. As a creator, I'm collaborating with a lot of different artists today. And over the weekend, some ideas were shared that were not internally approved prior to being shared with third parties. And so it created some friction within the organization. And that actually is going to lead into my brave fave here in a second. So that was my failing forward, definitely clear communication and smoothing out, understanding, each organization's processes is very important as you embark on various artist collaborations.
That's good. Yeah.
I got a good one, piggybacking a bit off of you, Tony, but we've talked about, just film festivals in general. Like I've my big three, I cover a lot of local festivals, Cinequest, San Francisco International, Mill Valley. But, when I travel, my big three are usually Sundance, Cannes, and Toronto. And one of the big lessons I learned, earlier in the year in January, I know Tony knows, but Christina, I'm not sure if you're aware that, Sundance just pulled their plug at the last second in January.
We were all supposed to go.
Yeah, I was supposed to be there. Yeah.
Jeez. Well, so was I, and that's, the lesson learned that I'm getting at is that when you're doing something collaboratively, whether it's, making a movie or planning a trip to Sundance, make sure everyone's on the same page. With this, COVID was really tough around that time. So it was hard to navigate. But I think my failing forward moment in that case was just, I wish I wish I'd been a bit more paranoid in terms of planning ahead and figuring out, hey, this is what may or may not happen. And if it impacts the festival, there go our plans. Because what I do is, first, I have a thing with some of my friends. So when we go to Sundance, I pretty much put together a condo for, like-minded people, film writers, directors, people who even just want to go and have a good time, and just film lovers. And I essentially put the condo together and invite like-minded people to stay with us, and we all have a good time. My friends do it for, Cannes and Toronto, and they're just like, hey, this is how much the thing is going to be. This is the address, show up. When I do it, that's what I do to them. So when it happened in January for Sundance, it was my responsibility. And so it was my time. I usually do the Sundance condo. They take care of Cannes and Toronto. So for Sundance, I'm pretty diligent about, just crossing T's and dotting I's. But again, because of COVID, it's a different monkey wrench. You didn't know what to expect. So I learned a lot just about, just human nature, really, just figuring out going back to who's there for what, who's there for what reasons, and, who genuinely is there, there for you in a jam. Because I had put things together, and then, as you both know, at the last second, the rug got pulled out. And I get it. Honestly, it was the right decision. The way things were going at the time, it would have been a huge mess to deal with that on top of the fest. But with my friend,
pricey lesson.
I'm sorry.
A bit of a pricey lesson for some of us.
No doubt. Believe me, I learned that lesson too. But this may just be a long-winded way of saying that when you're on a journey with people, make sure you're on the same page. If you're making a film together, if you're planning a festival, if you're planning anything, it doesn't have to be film related, but in this case, if it is, especially if there's money on the line, because you're absolutely right. That was an extremely pricey lesson for me, but not just for me, for the two of you, for hundreds and thousands of other people who were in the same boat as us, who had plans to go, and at the last second just had to improvise. So try your best. Obviously, easier said than done, but when you're doing something with a group, try to get everyone on the same page. It just, it'll save you a lot of headaches.
Yep. Buy that trip insurance.
That's right.
Yeah, that's all too personal for us, and it's so deep. We
feel
know. You. We feel you. Yeah, thank God that we got most of our money back minus 10%, but it was scary. And one of the things, again, I fell forward. I was like, okay, everything's expected to go, and I'm doing verbal deals with people. Someone's like, save me a seat, save me a spot. Yeah, but they don't do it. They don't do a deposit. And then I'm on the line for not only everybody's money, but this person who didn't even pay. So oh my gosh, it was so scary. If this Airbnb person, who was not a jerk, thankfully, they could have taken a lot of our money and forced us to go, and I would have been out thousands of dollars. It was just like, whoo, it all worked out. Yeah. Okay, good. Well, I hope you all are watching and listening and going back to all your collaborators and figuring out what you can do to get on the same page. All right, we're going to close out episode 158 with Brave Faves.
Brave Faves. TV shows, films, books, songs, technology, clothing, podcast, food, and more. These are a few of our favorite people, places, and things. Brave Faves.
All right. So I mentioned in my failing forward some friction in relationships. I think it happens with artists and with everyone in any career field. And I discovered a new mantra that helps promote harmony and promotes prosperity and all kinds of other beautiful things. This was shared with me by actor and co-star of Go Veronica Go, Tisha T. Payton. And it's just beautiful. I don't know if you can hear this, but definitely try this out. It'll help you step out of the constant stream of thought in your mind. If you've been curious about meditation, this is a way to kind of ease into it. This will help you just go into a space of no thought and stillness. And I hope it brings some peace and joy to your day. It definitely has for mine. It's just calming to listen to. I chant along with it, or you could just listen. That's my brave fave, and I'll throw it over to you, Marco.
All right. My brave fave, I mean, it's going to be a movie, obviously. But one of the things, it could be something different. I could have thrown you guys a curveball, but no, it'll be a movie. What I'm gonna plug this week for Brave Fave is the re-release of E.T. in theaters, and
Wow.
it's one of my favorite movies, and it's still playing. It was supposed to just play for a week in IMAX, but they've extended the run. So with August being pretty dry in terms of new releases, they're just going to keep playing it until they yank it. So I saw it in IMAX last weekend, and like I said, it's one of my favorites. It looks amazing in IMAX. And I mean, I know, convenience always wins when it comes to these things, right? But, if you can find the time to go to a theater, it doesn't even have to be an IMAX. It could just be a regular theater. Just go and see. It's a beautiful film. It looks amazing on the big screen. And it's just, watching stuff at home, it's obviously not the same. So I'm just repeating myself at this point. But if you can find the time to go see it on the big screen, please do.
E.T. is one of the first films I saw in a movie theater, and I love it.
Wow.
I loved it. Oh my gosh. I showed my kids recently. Such a good film. I love that film so much. Thank you, Marco.
Yeah.
My film, or my brave fave, is a movie too. Very different than a calming chant, and not as iconic and maybe memorable as E.T., but still, if you are a kind of a vampire fan, you like vampire movies, check out Day Shift. I don't usually give caveats to my brave faves, but I liked this one for some specific reasons. I liked it because of a different mythology on vampires. That was really fun. I'm always, as a filmmaker, screenwriter, I'm always thinking about how you can take, like tropey film ideas and put them into different, genres, or cast them in different ways and play with different, iconography. It's just really fun. So Jamie Foxx is really fun. The same producers of John Wick. So it's super fun action, lots of like really cool special effects. And the vampire hunter thing that's happening is kind of cool. That part I loved. The film was written by one of the Slam Dance screenwriting contest winners, which is actually kind of cool. Snoop Dogg is in it, but the award for the brave fave, why I think I liked it most, is Dave Franco and his comedic relief. It's so funny. Dave Franco is so funny. There's a lot probably that Marco might say on the other side of the film writing space that, but you got to go into it knowing it's like have some popcorn, have some fun. If you like vampire, you like comedy, you like John Wick kind of action comedy, this might be a pick for you. All right. That's all we got. Marco, please hang on the call. I want to say thank you to all of our viewers, for those of you who are watching live and or on the replay. We are a nonprofit. We are a 501c3, and we exist on your generosity. I want to ask you and consider going to our website at bravemaker.com/donate and becoming a donor today. We have 25 people every month who give everywhere from $25 to $500 to help us do the work that we're doing, to make our movies, to host our podcast, to get gear, to do September 2nd, mark your calendar, a live show starring Teresa Donahoe called Born Again in Berkeley here in Redwood City at our HQ. We have so many great things that are only possible because of generous people like you. So would you consider becoming a donor today? Even one time, monthly, whatever you can give is super helpful. And then go follow us on our social media. Follow us at Instagram and Twitter at bravemaker.org, and sign up for our email list at bravemaker.com/buzz. So you'll never miss any of the cool things that are coming up. In fact, today an email went out announcing our Go Veronica Go campaign, as well as the actor who will be starring alongside Christina Ray Jackson as Veronica. I won't tell you out loud, but it's a very well-known Emmy Award-winning actor and Broadway star who you will really love in the role of Christina, Veronica's mother, named Rosetta. What do you got, Christina?
We have, excuse me, a very exciting multi-hyphenate artist joining us next week. So tune in next week, 4 p.m. Pacific Standard Time for Zach Sandler. And we could not do the show without our amazing behind-the-scenes producer, Amy Cohen, out of Austin, Texas. Our social media manager, Carrie Alley, out of Grand Rapids, Michigan. Also in Grand Rapids is our podcast editor, Barnell Amos. And we are saying goodbye to Sarah today. Is that right?
That's
It's
right.
today
Bye, Sarah
our
Agolia.
wonderful intern, Sarah's last show. Sarah was wonderful meeting at the film festival. It's been so great working together. And we're actually going to connect in the future. So I'm looking forward to that. And yeah, this has been a great show.
Follow Christina at Christina Ray Jackson. You can follow me at Tony Gapastone. And Marco, where can people find you?
At the Movie Lens. So themovielens.com. You can shoot me a message at themovielens@gmail.com. I don't do Instagram. There's just way too much drama there for me. But there just is. But, having said that, I am on Twitter, which probably has even more drama. But if you are on Twitter, my handle is Big Dumb Male.
Ooh, okay. We're going to find Big Dumb Male. I'll follow you. All right. Awesome. Well, thanks. Hang on for a photo. We're really glad for this conversation, Marco. Thanks for doing your work. Thanks for sharing all your insight, and for all of the emerging and those who want to be, as well as current film writers. Keep going after it. Find your crew, find the people like Marco who are doing the work, and partner up and keep going after it, y'all. Brave stories change the world.
All right.
And you are the story. Goodbye, everybody.
Hang on, Marco.
Follow us on Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, and Facebook at bravemaker.org. Like, subscribe, and share. To become a monthly donor, text the word BraveMaker to 44321 or go to bravemaker.com/donate. Thanks for tuning in.